Over the years, the eating habits of people have changed in Mumbai, and the city has welcomed all sorts of cuisines and accepted the new likes of its population. But what have pertained the identity of the city are its vintage bakeries and pav, a core food item to the baked food culture in Mumbai. Pav travels through the streets of Mumbai and becomes a staple in local eateries to vintage cafes and households. Mumbai's likeliness towards bread and its equivalents came from its former colonial culture, and the taste for baked food persists among the population over time.
How does pav express the character of Mumbai's inhabitants?
So, to put this in a nutshell, if you have one thing that stands out and shouts Bombay in the food scene, it's the Vada Pa. And well, part of the name itself is Vada Pa. And everything about the Vada Pa is Portuguese. The potatoes are Portuguese, the chilies are Portuguese, the groundnut that goes into the chutney is Portuguese, the groundnut oil that the vada is fried in is Portuguese. So, and the pav was brought by the Portuguese. So, I mean, it's quintessentially Bombay. You really won't find this on a Portuguese traditional cookbook, but it still screams Bombay, and it tells you exactly what Bombay is all about. You know, about taking things from different cultures, making it their own, and then putting it in a pav.
मुंबईचं भूषण आहे ते वडापाव बोललं जातं. पाव आणि वडापाव जेवण नाही भेटलं तरी त्याच्यावर दिवसभर माणूस राहू शकतो. वडापाव म्हटलं तर काय नुसतं नाव काढलं तरी माणसाला तोंडाला पाणी येतं म्हणजे ते.
Here in Mumbai, you can find distinct bakeries, from vintage bakeries to Irani cafes. The prevalence of bread and its varieties have ranging customers every day. The Mumbaikars' love towards their bread is enormous, and unlike as in any other cities, the long standings of Irani cafes serving bun maska, mawa cakes and pav with different keema coexists with the emerging coffee culture that serves pancakes and variety of artisan breads.
Bakery goods are essentially flour, sugar, fat. I mean, these are the three things that go into bakery goods. If they are pastry, or flour, sugar, water, if it's, well, savory, and well, salt plays a bit of a role. So most definitely sugar is something that people are now getting more and more sensitive about. But if you go by Theobromma's brownies, then definitely not. Some of the top selling brownies, to me, as somebody who eats very little sugar, are almost inedible because of the sheer mass of sugar in them. But then if that's what's working, then obviously something in our understanding of people eating less sugar is wrong. Maybe they are eating more sugar than we think, but overall we're talking about eating less sugar, less fat, less carb. But it doesn't seem to be taking away from all the new bakeries opening up, does it? So I don't think one or the other. Again, I think this is essentially an evolution of taste and desire and aspiration. It's not that all the bakeries have died. Some of them have very die-hard clientele and they're not going away. The new bakeries that have come up and have rebranded themselves in some cases, the cake shops, come in two categories. You have the Mongini's type of cake shop, which is a chain, which is very, very affordable. And you have the slightly snooty, crusty, more expensive cake shops. You have Le 15, and you have Theobromma, which has again become a chain from a single restaurant, a single outlet in Colaba. And you have many other players like this who've come in now. They cater to a different crowd. They cater to a crowd today of young people who have more expendable resources than people did before. It's also because of the middle class actually, becoming a higher middle class in many ways. Because of the kind of jobs that have become available after the markets opened in the 90s, this has changed the income structure for people. And this has made spendable money more available. You can't deny the impact of the call centers and those kinds of jobs which empowered anybody who could speak English to make a pretty reasonable amount of money to start up with. So all of this entire culture has ended up creating a cafe culture. So you have your barista and your cafe coffee day and your third culture coffee, no, not third culture, what is it called, third wave coffee, and ultimately you have Starbucks. So I was told, I live in Kharghar, in what I consider a happy little village on the edge of Bombay, and I was told that we had definitely arrived because we now had a Starbucks in Kharghar. So I mean that is the yardstick now. So I think of the Irani cafes of my youth very longingly because they were incredibly light on the pocket. I honestly feel that a 300 rupee coffee at Starbucks is a lot of money. And I make some very good coffee for myself and I know what it costs. So 300 bucks is not what coffee costs, but you're not paying for the coffee. You're paying for the Wi-Fi, the ambience, the cool hip, destination, the Instagrammable photographs and all of that. So yeah, you win some, you lose some.
Health has always been an aspect revolving around the consumption of refined flour. However, the bakery consumers in India care less about it. In India, the bakery market is huge and growing. The emerging fondness towards coffee and coffee chains also have their own addictions of baked food in display, attracting the younger and affluent crowds. The places like Sabco and Theobroma are not just limited to serving coffees, breads, or cakes, but they also provide the ambience and aesthetics proven to be Instagram worthy, and the crowd comes there wants that. These changing consumptions seem to threaten the vintage bakeries and Irani cafes, but the Mumbai crowd says different.
We love going to Kiani and stuff because it's so close and everything is so cheap over there. So it's good to just go and hang out with your buddies and stuff over there.
जैसे दूसरी बेकरीज खुल रहे हैं तो कोई ज़्यादा फ़र्क पड़ता है?
ना नहीं, कोई फ़र्क नहीं है। ये बहुत जूना बेकरी है और इसका जो है ताज ओबराई अंबर सटर होटलों में सब माल जाता था। अच्छा खासा सेल होता है, कम से कम 40-45 दर्जन जीना रोल जाता है और 20 दर्जन बर्गर जाता है और कम से कम 100 ब्रेड जाता है दिन में।
There is no such thing like a healthier option. What is healthier? I mean, carb, fat, protein, you need all of it along with nutrients and minerals. It's about the quantities that you imbibe. It's not about the food that you imbibe per se. Anything in small doses is great. The Irani tradition has evolved a certain recipe base. I don't see any reason that they need to change. But the Irani cafes themselves have gone through changes and have adapted. So when I was a kid, if I went to Kayani's, which is probably one of the biggest Iranis in Bombay, I would have dreamt of eating a burger there. But today you can. More glory to them. They figured out that this is what sells and people want to eat this. You can take out a frozen, chicken patty, slip it into the fryer, put some fries on the side and give it to the client. Because, if 4 guys are eating a bun maska and 1 guy wants to eat a burger, why would we let 5 people go away from our restaurant? Let them all come. So the Irani restaurant owners are very canny people. They're very good businessmen. They're not idiots. And they have evolved in their own way over time. I don't think they need to evolve into healthier. Sliced bread also made a huge impact because it came packaged. You didn't have to worry about how fresh it was, its date was printed on it, so on and so forth. This made people veered towards sliced bread instead of buying pav. And having to go to your bakery, having to go to your pav wala, it was so much easier to have a packet of pav in the fridge, which is basically a sliced pav, your bread. And this kind of also damaged to a large extent the bakeries as they were. So the heyday of the Bombay bakeries is definitely gone, but the Irani cafes are not gone. In fact, there are surprisingly over time there have been new Irani cafes that have opened up. Most people haven't even realized this. One of the most prominent of these is a place called Ideal Cafe. It used to be a motorcycle shop selling Ideal Java motorcycles, and the owner then turned this into a small cafe. Some of the best Parsi food commercially available which you can walk into is over there in what is called Ganbo Street, just off Firosha Mehta Road. So there's also a very interesting new cafe in Mahim called Cafe Irani Chai, which has, kind of used all the nostalgia of the Irani cafes to build a brand new establishment. So it's not like they're all dying out. It's stabilized. There are a few that are doing well. Most of them have turned and, are part of the big picture in the sky now and stuff that memories are made of. We have a more enlightened consumer, and the consumer now is more adventurous. And food at the end of the day is aspirational. So if you're reading about it, you're seeing it on television, on Netflix, or wherever, that's the kind of stuff that you want to try out. So it's an evolution. It's not really the death of one kind of bakery and the birth of another kind of bakery, but it's kind of bakery goods reinventing themselves more than anything else.
The future isn't bleak for the vintage bakeries and Irani cafes. They have been the center of culture that contributes to what Bombay is and always will be. A brunch from an Irani cafe cannot be beaten up by the croissants or pancakes because they serve what has been staple to Mumbai's palate on cheap prices, and the crowd always comes back for it.